As I'm doing post-production on this video that you're about to watch, I realize I didn't do a really great job of discussing how AI is being used in the job search market. Candidates are using AI more and more to help refine, their resume and their cover letter and help them prepare for interviews. And AI is also being used on the employer side to help sift through all the applicants and identify, candidates that really meet the job description. And then on the employer side, I'm sure there's an interesting ethical discussion that can be had. Is the data set that the LLM is trained on, does it inherently have biases so that maybe certain candidates aren't making it through the initial filter? So I think all of that's a great discussion. Anyway, I just wanted to jump in before you watch the video and get you thinking about how AI is being used in the job search market. Hey, welcome. In this episode, we're going to cover a few improvements to the AI job coach that we've been developing. And again, just a reminder, all of that code is in the GitHub repository, and you can see that repo here. A couple of things, if you want to fork this project and work on your own version of it, feel free to do that. But if you also want to enter any comments or any issues, feel free to do that also. We're just going to cover kind of what's changed since the last time. So since the last time, I moved all the job description information over into the sidebar. So now you can copy paste job description and put it in the sidebar. All right, so if I drop in a job description and I hit tab out of that, you can see that the analysis page was loaded very quickly. And the reason it loaded very quickly was because of the caching that I added to kind of the AI engine. And so how that works, and we'll look at the code in a little bit, but if you feed in the same prompt, there's no reason to go to the LLM and ask for a new response. You can use the cached response. But if that prompt gets changed at all, then it will go to the LLM and ask for a new response. At the very bottom, you can clear out that cache. And this does save some use of the API that you're using. So I'm not constantly hitting open API with the same prompt over and over again. I can just use my cached response. So one of the things that I did on this version is I kind of reflected a little bit more about how I would interact with a real job coach. And so what I wanted to do is add some of those new behaviors that I think a job coach would really have into the application here. And so you can see this analysis tab now is brand new. And what this analysis tab does is the job coach actually takes a look at the job description, and at the very top, it analyzes that job description and it provides you kind of the top 10 requested skills from that job description. And this analysis, has led to, leadership, team building, management, but you can see kind of the job skills that this particular job description is asking for. And then below that list is a list of strengths that the candidate has. So these are a list of the strengths that line up with the requested job skills and some specific examples from that candidate's work history. So you can see that information here. And if we're going to do an analysis of the candidate's strengths, we should also look at their weaknesses. So the same thing, there's a prompt that asks for, given this job description and given this candidate's resume, what are some of the weaknesses and how can they work on them? We're going to skip to the last tab here in a second. There's a word cloud feature also, but I think that this, having the AI extract the key job skills, provides a little more insight into this word cloud that we're going to look at. So the word cloud, there's two of them. At the very top is the word cloud based upon the candidate's resume. And then at the very bottom, there's a word cloud based upon the job description. And these two are not really looking at the meaning behind all the words. So it's not really, using the large language model, but it's purely doing data analysis on the words that are in those two sources and showing you and highlighting which ones occur more often. So it provides some useful insights. I don't think it's as useful as asking the LLM to do this analysis. So the Ask the Coach tab, I renamed it. I think it was called Questions before, but I renamed it Ask the Coach. On the Ask the Coach tab, I added some new kind of prompts. And the intention of these prompts are, they're kind of pre-built and gives you some idea what you can do, but you can just copy them and you can paste them in and then generate the reply. And then it'll create a response based upon whatever prompt you put in. So for example, on this particular case, I asked for the top 10 industries for my work experience. And so it gave me, a listing of those. And you can do that with all of the different prompts. And then at the very top, there's kind of general prompts just about, the resume itself. All right, so let's look at one of these role-specific prompt examples. So we can take this one, copy it, and we can paste it in and generate the summary. So if you look at the summary gives kind of 5 bullet points here, but let's take a look at this prompt. This prompt is a little special. It has what looks like variables in there, and that's on purpose because Under the hood, I'm actually providing those variables to the prompt. So the prompt has information about the top required skills and the candidate's strengths, and those are from the analysis tab. So these are the top skills, and these are the candidate's strengths. So in this particular prompt, we're asking the LLM to, given this information, the top required skills and the candidate's strengths, again from the analysis tab, can you provide 5 short bullet points? They answer why, I'm a good fit for this role. And so then that's what these are. So this is very specific to this job description, based upon the analysis of the job description and also my strengths. Then I've been experimenting with some additional prompts. So for example, if I want to tailor my resume, so I'm asking it to, given the job description in my resume, kind of help me fine tune a resume specifically tailored for this role. And so that's something that you would want to do if you were applying for a position. And so it gives you some examples. So, it tries to give you a full resume. It's not at that level, but it's certainly at a level where you can get some ideas of, how it would kind of tailor your resume towards this role. And of course, you're not limited to the canned prompts that I've provided that you can just copy and paste. You can put whatever else you want in here. So this is an example of a prompt that, maybe you have an upcoming interview and you want to kind of help prepare for a certain question. So you can ask the LLM to generate kind of a response for you, and then you can see how the LLM would recommend that you would reply. And the intent is maybe not directly to use the output of, the LLM, but to treat this like a real job coach. You would lean on a real job coach to help you prepare for an interview, by helping you maybe answer certain questions. That's what you're doing here, is asking the job coach, how should I answer this? What do you think? And you can ask it whatever you want. And the job coach has enough information about, your resume and the job description to provide kind of reasonable responses. All right. And the final tab that we're going to look at is the cover letter tab. And the biggest change here was all of this, again, this job description information that's now in the sidebar used to be in this form, but we don't need it in this form anymore. So when you click create new cover letter, what it's going to do is it's going to pull in this job description info and also your resume, and it's going to do its best effort to generate a cover letter for you. Under the hood, we talked about the prompt engineering that went into this previously, so I'm not going to go too much into the detail of that, but there is prompt engineering that describes or what each paragraph should contain and all of that information, but it is including now the analysis from tab 1, so it's including kind of these key job skills and also the candidate's strengths. So it's trying to fold those into this cover letter that it creates. And then the other thing that I added was the ability to kind of refine the cover letter. So given that this is your cover letter, let's feed that back into the system and let it try to do some fine tuning of that cover letter based upon maybe some guidance that you're given it here. As an example, let's just say this is the guidance we're going to give it. And then you can click refine cover letter, and then it'll go through the process of kind of going out and trying to provide you a new cover letter. And so you can see the response at the bottom. It took the initial cover letter, tried to improve it for you. If you want to get back to the original cover letter, again, because of the caching and how the caching works, if you delete this additional guidance and say create a new cover letter, you're going to get back the original. And if you wanted it to generate a brand new cover letter, what you'd have to do is come over here and clear the cache. So that was a quick review at the application level. Let's take a look under the hood at some of the code changes. First, I want to start with the AI engine. Again, everything is object-oriented, so we're creating classes for all of this and encapsulating all of this behavior in classes. And what I want to show you here is the get prompt response and how now there's this little bit of code here where we're going to try to get the response from the cache first. If we get a response from the cache, we're going to return it. Otherwise, we're going to actually let the LLM generate a new response, and then we add it to the cache here. So the next time if you ask the same prompt, you provide the same messages, then it's going to hit the cache and you're just going to get the cache response. So this saves you some money because you're not hitting the OpenAI API all the time, and it's just a lot quicker response then. So let's take a look at these two cache functions here at the very bottom. So there is a get from cache, given the messages. First of all, it creates an MD5, which is how kind of we're caching everything. So if it has the same MD5, we're assuming it's the same prompt, and you're just going to get the cached reply. So generates this MD5. That's a static function that's down here using hashlib.md5, and we're just kind of dumping all of the messages in JSON into that and getting out an MD5 hash. If that MD5 hash is in the cache, and by the way, the cache is just a dictionary, it's created as a dictionary. If that MD5 key is in the dictionary, we're just going to return the dictionary itself. And then at the very bottom, let's take a look at this add to cache. First, it generates the MD5, and then it adds a new key value pair to the dictionary. There is this bit of code where I'm persisting this cache across sessions. When you reload this thing, there's a pickle file here that has all the cache data that we're going to read in the constructor. So if that pickle file exists, we're just going to rehydrate the cache from that file, and then we're going to move forward. So it's a real easy kind of caching, kind of saving some open API requests, and then it speeds up kind of the responses. That's definitely an improvement. Next thing I want to review is a new class. I added a class called job, and then what the intent is this encapsulates all of the kind of information and data about the job and how the candidate kind of matches this job. For example, it has a private method or private property here called _job description, which you publicly can access through these properties down here. The job title, the company, hiring manager. So all of this information that's supplied by the user on the form over here on the left-hand side in the sidebar, that information is all kind of stored in the job class. These properties are actually computed. These are analyzed properties from the coach. So for this particular job, it's doing the analysis and figuring out what the top required skills are, and it sets this dictionary. And so we'll take a look at where that's done in the job coach. So these are kind of where that analysis and all of the outputs from kind of the coach are stored. So even the cover letter is stored here. So we'll just scan the rest here. So there's, again, a getter and setter properties for that job description. So we have the private property, but there's a public property here that you can actually access that all by. There's a private reset job. There's a private reset the analysis. And there is this public method, and we use this kind of in the application part where we're trying to find out if we have a valid job. And valid job is pretty simple. If it has a job description where the length is greater than 0, and it's not set to kind of this, which is the reset value, then it's a valid job description. And then the next thing we're just going to do is just kind of review the coach. So I added a couple of new behaviors to the coach. So I just want to kind of go through and look at the behaviors. A little bit of a behavior-driven design here. So this coach has certain behaviors like the ability to answer a question. And again, for each one of these behaviors, answer the question behavior, it builds up a prompt, and then it asks the AI for the response. The AI engine now can cache that response, but it's still going to get it from the AI engine. So this answer question was an old behavior that was already there. This is a new behavior for the job coach, is analyze the job description and extract the top skills. This is a pretty simple behavior. First of all, we're just doing a little resetting. So on the particular job, we're going to reset those job skills because we're going to get new ones. And then we're going to use the answer question prompt, which is here. And we're going to feed it a prompt where I'm asking it for, given the job description, please identify a list of the top 10 key skills needed to be successful in this position. Please return the skills. And the reason why that skill is important, each skill will be on a new line in the following formats: skill-reason. At the end, I get a response. There's a little bit of parsing here to kind of get the responses back into kind of a dictionary form. And then I set that on the job object. Remember, we're tracking that data over in the job. So analyze strengths and weaknesses. Those are two new behaviors. It's the same kind of process, though. We're setting the results back on the job itself. So we ask the coach to answer a question, and we're giving it a prompt. So if you look at the prompt, we're going to take a look at why we're using this kind of variable kind of name here in a second. But given the top required skills for this job and the candidate resume, provide a top 5 list of examples where the candidate has demonstrated experience. Provide concrete examples of this experience. Write each example in a paragraph form. So that's a pretty easy prompt. And the weaknesses prompt is very similar, but it's just talking about, provide a top 5 list of examples where the candidate is lacking experience. So let's talk about why this variable name is in that prompt. And the reason that is if we take a look at the answer question behavior, which is up here, you can see that we're embedding the top required skills into the prompt itself. And I'm actually embedding it using that variable name. So here we're adding the top required skills. Here's that variable name. I found that this little trick allows me to focus the LLM on a specific content. So when I'm saying, hey, really take this content into consideration, if it has some specific name like that, it's much better at it. And then if we look at the very bottom, there's the create new cover letter. That behavior was there before, but now there's a new behavior, refine cover letter. And there's a lot of similarities. I can probably refactor a little bit out here, but the biggest difference here is refined cover letter embeds the existing cover letter into the prompt. So it provides that information and says, hey, this is the existing cover letter. And what you're doing is you're helping me fine tune a cover letter. So help fine tune the existing cover letter based upon the following candidate's profile. So you can see the existing cover letter is embedded right here, and I'm using this variable. Then if you go back into the behavior, because we embedded that variable, we're actually using that now in the prompt and saying and asking the LLM to fine tune, the information that you see in that variable. And then maybe there's some small tweaks here and there, but pretty much most of it is the same. The only thing I did do is just the way Streamlit functions and how it, every time you make a change, it goes from top to bottom and executes everything. I did add some session state for all of these classes. So I put these classes in the session. So for example, here, the AI engine, if it's not in the session state, then it creates the class and then it adds it to the session state. But after that, it's grabbing it from the session state all the time. Same thing with the candidate, same thing with the job. So all of those are all in the session state. I don't have to do it with the coach because the coach itself doesn't really have any data inside of it besides of the candidate and the job and the AI. So there's nothing really to cache there. So you can just create a new one of those every single time. That's all I want to review today. I just wanted to have a quick little video on just kind of the improvements and just do a quick review. As I keep iterating on this development, and I'm finding it more and more useful. As I drop a job description in here and the analysis happens automatically and it provides me kind of those key job skills from the job description. It does an analysis on my strengths and my weaknesses. And so it provides a lot of useful information if I want to pursue that position. My strengths, my weaknesses. I can ask the coach for additional information if I want. So if that's something's not there, I can ask it. And so as I continue on with my job search, this is becoming more and more of a tool that I'm using.